Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Just got done inspecting hive number 1, about to get into hive number 2, but let me give you a quick back story on this hive if you haven't watched the previous videos. So last week, kind of hard to determine if they were queen right or not. So I moved a frame of eggs from hive number 1, and I moved a frame from, I believe, hive number 3 that was actually in the top deep. Hopefully you can see that, which if you watch the previous videos, the top deeps are now acting as a honey super because I reduced all the colonies down to a single deep. So I found a frame with a queen cell in the top deep. Luckily enough, I got into that colony now on a weekly basis, found it, and I moved that frame over to hive number 2 also to give it a boost. So that was last week. Here we are, it's Sunday, May 3rd. Beautiful weather here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Temperatures in the high 80s and the humidity is in the mid 40s, and it feels absolutely fantastic. So that's the backstory on hive number 2. So again, this is just a weekly inspection. This time of year, checking for swarm cells, but because this colony may not have been queen right for a little bit, really just checking to see if any of those, well, if the one swarm cell, queen cell, is hatched, and 2, maybe the bees have made swarm or supersedral cells out of the frame of eggs I gave them, again, last week from hive number 1. So enough of me yapping, just gonna give them some smoke, pop the top, do a quick check on the honey super, see how they're working that still, and relatively quickly get into the bottom box and see how this colony's doing. Alright, well, that's not what you want to see. Not too much activity. Not too much activity coming from the honey super, so it could be a sign that, again, they've gone through a queenless phase and they just don't have that many worker bees. But either way, we'll see what's going on. And yeah, that's what I was saying. So they had or I guess they still have it. They have a nicely drawn super, mostly drawn except for a few frames, but there just doesn't seem to be that many bees up here. So that's why we come out here weekly to see what's going on with them. Well, there's a few bees up here working it. As you can see, they're catching some of the nectar. I mean, it's got some nice weight to it. Yeah, if I end up determining this colony's kind of struggling along, I will, well, don't quote me on that, but I might move the super to a stronger colony that can get some more work done with it. I'm just re-spacing the frames. Alright, let's get this super off, get down into the top deep, which is acting as a honey super, and give you another quick look. Doesn't seem to be too many bees, so really curious to see what's going on in the bottom box. I'm just going to move one frame out of the way, see what they've been up to. I mean, they're storing nectar. They're storing nectar, they just haven't capped it yet. Alright, let's get down into the actual brood chamber, see if we can make sense of this. Yeah, and there's the difference between the metal excluders and the plastic ones, as I've been commenting in previous videos. The plastic ones, when you go to pop them off, they definitely They launch a lot of bees into the air. So if you're trying not to disturb the hive much, those plastic excluders might not be for you. I packed the smoker full and it's kind of struggling to stay lit. Alright. I don't know. Kind of suspicious about this colony. That's a nice frame of food for sure, but as exciting as that is, definitely want to see some brood. Outside frames not so much. It's very common to have outside frames as food stores, which is exactly what that is. Some queen cups, but they're completely dry. Really curious to see what the bees have been up to with the frames I gave them last week. I believe I gave them one frame that had a queen cell on it, and that was moved over from colony 3, I believe. Found that in the top box. And then I believe the next, oh yeah, they're queen right. The next frame should be the frame of eggs I gave them from Hive 1. We got some pupated larvae, but more importantly, we got eggs. I think when they went through their queenless time, so the eggs are right here. Hopefully you can see this very small patch, because you have a rainbow of pollen and then nectar, which is a very common pattern for the bees to store food. The only problem is when they go through a queenless period and the queen doesn't, well, you know, they don't have a queen, so no eggs are being laid into the cells, the bees start backfilling those open cells with nectar and food. Alright, well, this is a good sign. This was the frame I moved over from hive number 1, and they did a very nice job of capping that brood there, as you can see. But more importantly, right next to the capped brood right here, in some of these cells are brand new eggs, day-old eggs. So they have a queen. I would really like to find her, more so out of curiosity, just so I can see what she looks like. However, on this side, nice open cells that the queen, for some reason, has not laid any eggs in. So that's kind of strange. Why she would pass up on all those open cells, but either way, that frame looks really nice. Maybe, I believe it's the next frame. I don't typically put frames of eggs or any swarm cells in the direct center. So, let's see. He's looking for the queen. That's another nice frame. A lot of pupated larvae, eggs. So they're queen, right? I would just like to find her, really. Same on this side. It appears that the colony is making room for the queen to lay, because in the previous videos it looks like they were pretty much in a honey-bound situation, and this week so far it looks like they have more room in the brood chamber for the queen to lay eggs. So hopefully that's the case. Hopefully they realize they have a queen again and they started making room for her to build up the brood area. Where is she at? Sometimes they are extremely good at avoiding the beekeeper. There's a queen cup on the bottom side I'm going to take a look at here in a second. It's hard to tell in that dark cone if there's eggs or not, so grab my flashlight. Oh yeah, yep. They're looking way better than they did last week. Let's see what's up with this queen cup right here though. That's dry. Right there. It's just a dry cell. The sun is at such a nice angle. Yeah, there's eggs. You can see that. There's eggs all throughout those open cells. Yeah, so like I mentioned, it's 1:30, probably closer to 2 o'clock now. The sun is now, you know, more so in the western part of the sky, and for my bee yard location, that seems to be a good time of day to get the sun in the right spot. It makes it a little easier to sit down into the cells than coming out here before 12 noon. Really just want to see the queen, just to see what she looks like, really. But I don't know. Starting to think I might not see her this time around. But we do have one more frame to go to. Very last frame, typical food store looking frame, a lot of nectar, some pollen mixed into the middle, which is exactly what they need with all the new brood that is being laid. And I think, nope, thought I saw some eggs, but some really dark cones, hard to tell. I was going to be surprised to find eggs on the very, very outside. So yeah, they are queen right. So that is fantastic. This hive is going through some struggles this year. This was my #1 honey producer last year, so it was kind of sad to see them swarm on me, but partially my fault. As we were transitioning out of winter into spring, I gave a little too much time between inspections, and gave them about 2 weeks. And that 2 weeks, or within those 2 weeks, that was just enough time for them to really build up the population and decide to swarm. So either way, that was a while ago, and here we are in spring, and they're looking pretty good. All right, let's get everything put back together. Get the queen excluder back on. I'd say that went pretty well. Didn't disturb them too much. There we go. Yeah, using a deep as a super, you can get a lot of honey, but man, that thing is heavy. All right, there we go. About 15 minutes. That's it's pretty quick for me to move through a colony. But yeah, given Hive number 2's history this season, and it's only May, being queenless for a little bit, well, having an excellent build up out of the winter, and then swarming, going queenless for a good bit, not looking so good for quite a while, probably the better part of a month, and now finding frames and frames of eggs is absolutely excellent. So again, it's May 3rd. They have this whole month, the entire month of June, to maximize their foraging and storing some honey for me. So I think we'll be okay. I think we'll get some honey out of this hive after all. Alright, hey, thanks for watching everybody. Cole's Farm here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Again, just another beautiful Sunday in the bee yard. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, and if you hit the bell, like usual, you'll receive notifications of future videos. We're also on Instagram and Facebook if you want to check out those social media platforms. You can find us by searching both with Cole's Farm NC all together, just like the YouTube channel, but remove the space. Alright, hey, thanks for watching everybody. Tune in next week for another weekly hive inspection video.